Someone stopped me in the street and gave me a new hat.
They just gave you this?
Yeah, I said, I like your hat.
Hats?
Great.
It's a nice hat.
They're like, that said needs a hat.
Very nice. Wow.
Excuse me, that doesn't ever happen to me.
Are we live or?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Okay, just turn it on. Nancy, I understand your concern, but
I want to be able to read it.
I want to be able to read it too. Hi, everybody. This is the Select Board of the Town of Hanover, and it's Monday. Well, I guess we're live, so I don't really need to say, but it's Monday. No, it's Friday. It's usually Monday. It's 11:33, according to my iPhone, and this is a meeting of the Town of Hanover Select Board. And the first 5 minutes of the TV time is, or 10 minutes, or maybe even 15, is going to be spent reading this double-sided memo that we have. So there you go. That's the first item on the agenda.
Yeah, and the intent of the memo too is we can go through it together.
Okay, Katie. That might be a really good idea.
I sent it to you in email so you had it
Okay.
available after the meeting as well, and then I printed a hard copy so you could follow along
All right.
as we walk through it together.
Katie, are you prepared to do that? Do you want?
I am. Yeah.
Great. Then may we do that, please?
Okay. So the beginning of the memo just sort of summarizes the approach that we took this year during union negotiations. This year we implemented a more collaborative bargaining approach based on the feedback that we received, and at the request of the unions. The town manager participated in all the union discussions, as well as myself, the HR director, and Ellen next to me, the finance director. Later on during that process, we also included the town's labor attorney and other appropriate department heads and senior leadership. So early meetings before negotiation talks were really happening, we had all three union negotiation teams meet together. That way it increased transparency in the process, and overall it just, I think it created a more healthy approach to negotiations. So that was actually really enjoyable, and it just helped prioritize and address some of the historical issues that were recognized in the past. So we can get right into it. So some of the things that we'll be discussing through this conversation are the key items that have been included in the budget, and most of these items have been approved for all staff, generally speaking. The first item is the cost of living adjustment and the merit increase. Based on feedback that we received through the town's retention and recruitment study that we've been doing for months, we received a lot of feedback on how the cost of living and the merit steps were commingled, and sometimes the cost of living adjustment was adjusted based on the amount of the step increase. So our intention was to totally separate the two and create separate conversations when each of them are determined. And then moving forward, the town would like to use the New England CPI, just so it's a more accurate cost of living adjustment, and then also implementing a true merit-based system for the annual step increase that staff receive each year. The merit system still has a lot of things to be ironed out, so for this coming fiscal year, we would be keeping the 2% step increase as is while we iron out those details. It gives us a lot more time to make sure that everything's solid and policies and procedures are in place. Department heads and supervisors will have the chance to undergo performance review trainings, and then we'll be revamping our performance management templates for each department. For this year, fiscal year 2025, we came up with the 2.5% COLA. We had hoped to have it a little bit higher, but due to budget constraints and some of the other adjustments that we proposed, it just made it go down slightly. And then, like I mentioned, we'll be creating the new point system for the 2% step increases moving forward. Another adjustment that we've proposed is the removal of the cap. We have quite a few employees currently that are at their maximum step, which is called V. In the past, once you're at step V, you're no longer eligible to receive the 2% step because you're at the max. We proposed removing that cap so long-serving employees are still receiving an annual raise separate from the cost of living adjustment. Any questions about any of that so far? I apologize if I'm speaking too quick. You can tell me to slow down.
So in terms of the cap for long-serving employees, the merit point system, that's up to 2%, right?
Correct. This year, fiscal year 2025, it will still be a 2% adjustment. It will still be the same as years past for all employees, just while we iron out those details, with the exception of one of the union contracts, which we'll get to further down.
Okay.
As far as market adjustments go, we have a one-time market adjustment proposal for staff. It includes employees that are currently in steps A through L. Employees that are in steps A and B will receive an additional 75 cents per hour increase, which is approximately $1,500 per year for a full-time employee. Steps C through G will be receiving a 50 cent per hour increase, which is approximately $1,000 a year for a full-time employee. And then steps H through L, an additional 25 cents per hour adjustment, which is about $500 per year for a full-time employee. We've also determined, based on the market data, that market adjustments were needed for our administrative assistant positions. Currently, actually all of our administrative assistants function at a higher level than what one would normally associate as administrative assistants, so we recognize that, and that's why they would be receiving that additional market adjustment as well. There was also a small handful of other employees that will be receiving a one-time market adjustment, and we've identified those positions further down in the memo, but that resulted from those employees, their wages fell below the minimum market data, so their current salaries fell below the minimum data that was obtained, so they definitely, they needed an increased adjustment as well. Any questions about the market adjustments?
Does that have the custodial in it?
Yes, and further down we identify those
didn't-
positions as well. There's more detail about some of these items as well, but other key items that we recognize were on-call pay. We restructured some of the on-call policies, and like I said, there's more detail with that in the union section of this memo that we'll get to. As far as health insurance goes, there was a health insurance plan that will be phased out by Health Trust. Luckily, only one current employee is on that health care right now, that health insurance plan. So only one employee will be affected by this transition. If other employees are happy with their current plan, they won't be required to make any changes unless they choose to participate in the new plan that we'll be offering. The new plan that we'll be offering is a higher deductible plan, and we're proposing that we contribute half of the deductible to an employee's HSA account should they go to that plan, because the premium for that plan is significantly lower than the other plans that we currently offer.
Katie, approximately what is the deductible?
The deductible for the new plan that we're proposing is $3,000 per person, with a maximum deductible of $9,000 per family.
And
The
what's
other
the
high deductible plan, sorry,
what's the contribution, the HSA
So
contribution?
half of the deductible.
Half of it,
Okay.
And
so
then,
1,500.
correct, and then the proposal includes
Up to
doing the same.
4,500 for a family, up to 4,500.
Yeah.
1,500 to 4,500?
Yes.
So not, yeah.
Half
So
of
if
the
you have a
deductible-
family, the town will give you a $4,500
Correct,
contribution to your HSA.
correct, and then with the other high deductible plan,
No kidding.
with the other high deductible plan that we currently offer, the deductible is $2,500 for single. Was there another question?
No, I'm mumbling about we're on television, I shouldn't say things. Keep going, Katie,
Okay.
you're doing a great job.
Okay. Another one of our, this is one of my favorite changes that we've proposed, is currently, let's say that we were hiring an employee and they started today, or on Monday the 8th, they would need to wait until June 1st to be eligible to participate in our insurance plan. With our new proposal, the town would be able to start contributing, and they would be allowed to have coverage starting May 1st. So it's the first of the month following their hire date, rather than the first of the month after 30 days of employment. So if somebody started today, they'd be almost 2 months without insurance. So this would help out new hires quite a bit, and I think it would be a really great opportunity for a new recruitment tactic. The next item is increasing the opt-out amount for employees who choose not to participate in town insurance. For fiscal year 2025, the amount would be increased by $500.
From
What-
what
yeah,
is
from
it
what?
now?
$2,500.
Thank you.
Dental contributions, we had a lot of feedback during our recruitment and retention program that folks either wanted a better dental plan or some sort of contribution. After we confirmed with Health Trust that the town currently has the best dental plan that they offer, we discussed how to better contribute to dental. So beginning fiscal year 2025, the town will pay 1/3 of the town's 85% contribution rate, 2/3 of that rate in 2026, and then 85%, the full 85% in 2027.
Can we just jump back to the opt-out? How many more people do you expect to opt out with the $500 increase for all this opting out?
That's a good question. I don't foresee people wanting to opt out because of that, because they would, if they had an opportunity to opt out, they probably would already. I don't foresee somebody saving, I don't foresee if they were to opt out in a different plan that they would save more than the $500 that we'd be adding. I don't think that would be a big enough incentive to opt out. Which is a good point that you brought that up, a lot of other employers offer a lot more than public sector employers offer more than what we offer for an opt-out. So I don't think that the incentive would be there to opt out on our end. Let's see, overnight shift differentials. So we recognize that we have a group of employees that work overnight or the midnight shift. So we've created a shift differential pay that we will touch on further down in the memo. Community Service Day, that was something that one of our employees suggested during our retention and recruitment project. One of our employees' spouses works at another local employer that has this, and it's very popular there. So we would create a list of predetermined community service opportunities where folks and different employees could choose one of those times, and the intent would be that if we have, let's say, up to 10 of these predetermined dates, the other employees from different departments would also be participating in that event, so it would give other employees a chance to spend time with employees in different departments during the day. We have the addition of the floating holiday for all.
Let me just, I'm sorry to interrupt. Let me just, the pre-approved list of 4 to 6 hour long community service. So a 4-hour community service activity counts as an 8-hour workday.
Alex put the 4 to 6 hour, that, I'm not sure how to answer that question. I think our intent was to be able to have a couple half days. We recognize that the fire department, for example, or the dispatchers might not be able to take a full shift off because they have to replace them one-to-one. Right. So having a half-day option might be easier for employees to, and so many employees right now have such heavy workloads that it would be sort of difficult to do that for a full day. So I think that's why we have the half-day options, and then there might be a full 8-hour day option too. But I think it's important to have the half-day options as well.
Thank you.
Our New Hampshire paid family leave coverage that we
Excuse
have.
me,
the floating
the floating holiday, but and that is subject to, that's one we talked about not providing overtime, correct, or not?
I'm not sure if I've been in the conversation with that one.
So now that ended up,
Yeah.
The police contract does have language in it, that it's, based on approval and staffing availability to avoid use of overtime.
okay.
But not fire and DPW?
So,
Oh, they already,
Fire's contract is different
right,
than the others, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's my understanding that that's not included in the fire contract.
No. And Katie, this is all employees, that means union and non-union.
Correct.
With the,
Assuming that you talk to your, I apologize, assuming that you talk to your supervisor and say, may I take next Friday off as my floating
Yes,
holiday?
it would it would have to go through the same sort of procedure that they currently utilize to use leave time.
Thank you.
I think Alex had characterized the cost as $2,000 to $3,000 for that, something like that. I guess that's for overtime. Is that how that's?
I would assume so.
Okay.
The paid family leave, currently we offer New Hampshire paid family leave, which is a program through the state. Currently it offers 6 weeks for employees, and we're proposing that we extend the 6 weeks to the 12-week coverage, and the town would still pay 50% of the premium for employees like we currently do.
And that's obviously regardless of gender.
Yes,
Sorry, 50% of the premium, premium for what?
for the New Hampshire paid family leave. So this is
Okay.
something that's different than the standard FMLA. New Hampshire paid family leave has the same, very similar criteria that one would need to fall into the FMLA. However, it's paid like a short-term disability at 60%.
Okay.
A lot of times if we have an employee that has to utilize short-term disability, our current policy has a 30-day window. For example, somebody that has that participates in the paid family leave could use that time to be paid at the same rate as short-term disability while they wait for the actual short-term disability to kick in.
Thank you.
Vacation sellback, we had
the critical
Critical
staffing,
staffing?
oh, I'm sorry, I skipped right over that. Critical staffing. So we updated this policy to remove the prior cap and set a few more objectives for determining when a critical staffing policy should be in effect. Some of the metrics would include like an increased workload for the department that's requesting to have this enacted. You know, and it was sort of, we ran into a few times where where employees met the cap, however, they were still in critical shortage, so it made sense to remove the cap because we were short-staffed in specific departments for quite a period of time. Vacation sellback, we had quite a few employees utilize this last year, so we proposed to keep it going. This would involve 20 hours each year for an employee to sell back to the town, and rather than doing it on their anniversary date like we did this last year, it would be during 1 month of the year. Okay. Any questions on those items before we move into the union contract section?
I had thought your sentence here may help reduce the town's long-term liability. I thought we talked about considering, since this is a 3-year contract, about considering setting in place, you know, language that causes that liability to be diminished over the years. There doesn't seem to be.
So the liability that it's referring to is the amount of leave time accrual that one
Right.
obtains. Yeah.
Right.
no, we had talked about sunsetting that provision, because although it may be common in public sector, it's certainly not common in private sector, and the idea is to make sure that people take their vacation and take a break and have adequate staff so you can, and so I think that's something we certainly talked about and
Right.
would like to see happen, but I don't think it
I don't think it made it.
And
I don't
we
think
got
it
a
made
lot-
it into the cut.
We got a lot of, around this table, a lot of people agreeing that finding a way of getting people to take their leave rather than retiring with huge liability was a good thing, and it does not appear to be reflected here.
I don't think it got
Nope,
it.
I
It
don't
didn't make it in.
know that language. I haven't seen that language.
We discussed it and we thought that it should be something that we
Continue
aim
It's
to
an-
do.
It's an aspirational goal, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's important for our employees to
very
know
yes.
that that's what we want them to do, is take vacation,
Yep.
so they don't get burnt out. And
We'll get back to you on that, Katie.
Okay.
Keep it, file that, that's important, it's an important feature.
You heard it here.
All right, so we'll start with discussion on the union contracts and their specific language. So we'll start with police. The agreement so far as
Sorry, were there other positions that were getting marked to market? I didn't see them,
Jenny, what's your
like the
question?
custodian. I thought there were details on the other positions that.
Yep, and we specified them in the union section.
The administrators and such.
Yep, so if you hold that thought, we'll get to that in the public works section of the union contract.
Oh, for the non-union departments, you said, I thought it was before the union stuff. I just didn't see it. When I asked about custodial, you said there were details.
Yep, and custodians are part of the union.
Part of the union, okay. Got it.
So the police contract is a 3-year contract with a reopener and commitment to finalize the merit point system that we talked about earlier. For market adjustments, no.
Katie, I'm sorry. That reopener is triggered by, who can trigger
that? So it would be a mutual reopener to determine if they approve the merit system.
Okay.
Is there expected to be a cost to that? And then how would that be treated?
A cost to the merit system. It wouldn't. So the cost would just be these step adjustments that one would earn through the merit system.
So not to exceed the 2% that's
Correct.
in the budget.
Correct.
So it could come in even less, just depends on what we decide in our negotiations, right?
Yep.
As we reopen.
But all of our staff are awesome, and they'll probably all get the 2%.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just like all of us.
Right.
Everyone's above average.
Yeah, in the Upper Valley.
And Lake Wobegon as well.
Yeah.
So the only position in the police department that are eligible for the market adjustment are the administrative assistant.
Not in the union.
No position in police other than administrative assistant receive a market adjustment. So no union positions receive a market adjustment.
Okay.
Currently, when somebody is hired as a police officer, once they complete the academy and their probationary period, they jump quite a few steps. So the proposal in the contract states that that new hires will be hired at the higher rate than they are now. So this would just it creates a little bit more. It's easier for recruitment. Obviously, we have a lot of competition, and we have two open positions right now at the PD, so it will help. And then this way, they start out at the higher rate, and then it would mean that other increase wouldn't happen later on. They would just start out at the increased amount.
However, probation still does exist.
Yes, yep, and they have a 12-month probationary period.
Okay.
When we mentioned the overnight shift differential earlier in this memo, this is where we sort of lay it out. Employees, and this affects patrol officers and dispatch officers. Employees who work scheduled midnight shifts will receive a phased-in pay differential. For fiscal year 2025, it's proposed at 50 cents per hour over their current rate. Fiscal year 2026, a total of $1 per hour over their current rate. And fiscal year 2027, a total of $1.50 per hour over their current rate. We've reorganized stipends for several positions at the PD and creating new training positions that will benefit the department. The flat rate stipends are now indexed to the cost of living adjustments so they don't fall behind. And a new incentive that we proposed is the military service / veteran incentive. And this would, if a current officer or communications officer already meets the education incentive requirement, they would not be eligible for the additional military incentive. It's one or the other. So if somebody, for example, doesn't receive the education incentive, but they were in the military service or for 4 years, they would be eligible for the 1% military service stipend. Currently, there's 5 employees that would fall into that category.
And that follows you along, that is not a one-time.
Correct, it would be
Follows you along.
each year.
Okay,
Well, the contract's for 3 years, so.
right.
Any questions on the police union contract? Okay, moving right along to Public Works and Hanover Parks and Rec. This also is a 3-year contract with the same reopener for the commitment to finalize the merit and point system. The market adjustments for Public Works.
I'm sorry, Katie, is that, we say in the coming months, that open-ended, or have we pledged that by this time next year it will all be done, or what is the assumption?
I'm not aware of a certain deadline.
Okay.
I just know that it's a very high priority to get it done sooner than later to iron out all the details for the maps.
Okay.
The merit aligned pay system.
Can I ask about, because it looks like it's on page 8 here in the Public Works. I mean, I haven't had a chance to read these, and it's a little hard to read them while
So there's one copy of the actual contract.
you're talking.
I'm not
But,
sure
so we
what
might
she's
need a
referring to.
moment to read the contracts, actually.
Yeah, this
But
is the one copy.
it
we
looks
have.
like they're on page 8 of the
How
Public
nice.
Works contract.
Why is there only one copy?
We don't have
The
a copy
merit
machine
system.
this time?
Don't know why we're given one copy. Why are we given only one copy?
I don't know.
Contract?
These are,
We do have copy machines.
but on page 8 is where I saw what looks to be, I could be misunderstanding it, but it looks to be the merit-based system with points. That's different than the previous steps. But I didn't see the previous one contract either, so I don't really know for sure, but it looks like it's different based on the description.
Maybe.
This is for which
That's
contract?
public Works.
Okay.
Katie,
Yes.
can I clarify some of the opener stuff?
Oh,
You can ask Athos, it's his meeting.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
Can you
I'm
come
Richard
up?
Shire, I'm the chapter chair for Public Works.
Great.
It's a little misunderstanding the reopener. During the course of negotiations, there were several portions of wages and the merit-based plan that were provided. The steps and the evaluation is the portion that's in the contract now that is being phased in. The portion that is subject to the reopener is, let me see if I can get the terminology right, sectors and bands.
Segments and bands.
Segments and bands.
Paid for
that's it.
effort, Richard.
Yeah. Segments and bands for establishing the, what's the better way to say it? Job description and jobs tiers and bands. And that's the part that is still, I don't want to say undefined, but not set in concrete yet. And that's what the reopener refers to.
so the merit points is indeed on
The
page
merit
8,
points
right there?
are in the contract, and
That's
that's what goes on through the 3 years.
So according to this, it says you get a point for working
Yes.
a year, and then you can get up to 3 point, well, you can get 3 points based on your performance review.
Right. The first year, it goes with the negotiated step increase. The second year, it's based on reviews, and then the third year is also based on reviews, and hopefully the sectors and bands system will also come in then. It was just during negotiation, it was just too much to try and
Yep.
Yeah.
get that part
These
done.
contracts to the select.
Thank you very much, that's
Yeah,
helpful.
pull them up on devices.
Yeah,
We have more copies.
we should actually see them. Or we could take a break maybe and just read the contracts. I think that's maybe what we need to do.
Read the contract?
It's difficult for me to read while also listening.
That we weren't given these.
Yeah, it's just, we're looking at these for the first time, Athos. and
Okay.
I thought it would be
How long ago
helpful
was this
to,
available, Kate?
They were emailed? No, we don't have them in email, no, just in paper. Correct?
Depends on the contract.
Yeah.
When they
I'm
were
sorry,
finalized.
1 second, Carter, please.
Not public.
Is there anything available for the public to read? I understand probably the contract not, but the thing that's being gone through verbal.
There's an extra copy. No, that's not an extra copy.
Never mind, I read it.
I'm sorry, was it Ellen or Jenny that was? Do you have a question? Somebody?
I have a,
Thank you.
So there's a proposal to
We
sit and
can
read the
maybe make a
contracts.
copy, because there's a coffee machine
Yeah, that's
downstairs.
Here, I'll,
Like we've used it for the CIPC.
oh, there are 3 of them.
Yeah.
Did you want one?
Yes.
It's
One at a
a
time.
3-year contract.
There's 3
Right.
different
I
ones.
understand, I understand.
Yep, I mean, do you wanna go finish the memo and then take?
Yeah, let's do that.
Why don't we finish the memo and then take a break for review of the contracts?
Love it.
Thank you, Kate.
So we're at market reopener, reopener, and now we're down to market adjustments.
Okay, so for Public Works, the market adjustments look a little different. You'll see that steps A through J will receive a one-time 35-cent per hour increase. As far as equity adjustments,
And
these
Kate,
were,
what, in the other one that it was mentioned, the value of that, what is the value of that?
Oh, the value.
25 cents was $500 per employee. So
It's gonna be around 700.
yes, I would say 600 or 700.
Thank you.
yeah, it's about $730 on a,
7:30,
yeah, 40-hour week.
thank you, Ellen.
Earlier I had mentioned the handful of employees that were receiving an additional market adjustment because their current pay fell under the minimum average of the data that we collected. This was just 2 positions, and it was the head custodian and the custodian, and they'll be receiving the one-time 25-cent per hour adjustment. This is on top of the market adjustment if they fall within A through J, and also the step and cost of living. So just 2 employees. So all the other employees that we've talked about prior to this section, we discussed that they'll be continuing to get the 2% increase this year as we currently do. The union members in the Public Works and Parks and Rec contract, you'll read, they'll be receiving a 75-cent per hour flat rate increase for their annual step increase. This was the town's original proposal for all staff. However, we didn't get a lot of feedback from employees that they liked that idea, and a majority of employees liked the 2%, just because they've been accustomed to it for so long, I imagine. However, we did give the option to unions to offer this to their members because it had already been discussed during negotiations. This union decided to stick with the flat rate, 75 cents per hour.
Okay.
As we talked about before, the overnight shift differential, in this contract, it affects employees as well that work overnights, mostly the custodians. And they have the same shifts, the overnight shift differential rate as we talked about before with the PD, 50 cents per hour fiscal year 2025, $1 for fiscal year 2026, and $1.50 fiscal year 2027.
Katie, do you have to have an overnight shift kind of planned out in advance? What I'm thinking about are the individuals who drive all of our snowplows and our.
So that would not, that
mandatory.
wouldn't meet the overnight shift. These are for employees that are regularly scheduled to work overnight.
Regular.
So patrol officers and the dispatchers, they do a rotating midnight shift.
Okay,
So those people would be eligible for the shift differential pay, as well as the overnight custodians that we have.
the key word is regularly.
Regularly scheduled, yes.
Thank you.
We also recognize that our on-call policy was pretty outdated. It's my understanding that it hadn't been updated in almost 20 years. So we have a 3-year plan to get those rates updated. So for employees that are non-SCADA, so we have some employees that, Richard could probably answer any questions about what SCADA is and what non-SCADA is. If you have questions, but it's a higher level on-call duty, let's say. For fiscal year 2025, a total of $1 an hour above the current rate, $2 above the current rate for fiscal year 2026 and fiscal year 2027, $3 an hour. So there will still be $1 an hour difference in on-call pay for non-SCADA employees and SCADA employees. So that shift will still be the same. Call-in hours were expanded so that employees who are coming into work, for example, to plow like they probably did last night, will have town insurance coverage. Currently when an employee drives in to pick up a plow shift, for example, they wouldn't be covered by the town for workers' compensation.
Oh, that's awful. Good thing.
Yeah, so this covers employees, and that was like their biggest ask, was that they be covered for something that could happen. The clothing allowance that's provided for these employees was also increased by $50 per employee. Any questions on Public Works, Parks and Rec contract? And the last one, the fire contract. So just a disclaimer, this contract differs from the above two, as it doesn't contain any of the benefits or stipulations provided to all employees. Nothing that we discussed in the first part of this document applies to the fire contract, such as the health insurance, benefits, dental contributions, community service day, floating holiday, paid family leave, or critical staffing. The updates that were extended to this contract, so it's a 2-year contract, the same reopener as the other two. The market adjustments differ as well, and their adjustment would be a one-time 2% market adjustment across the board. For fiscal year 2025, they'll receive the same 2.5% cost of living adjustment, and then in fiscal year 2026, a 2% cost of living adjustment. They will also continue to be allowed to buy 20 years of vacation time as well.
20 hours.
What did I say?
20 years.
20 hours. They can't buy 20 years.
Thank you, Katie.
You're very welcome.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with respect to fire, just so I'm clear, it's the COLA, it's the whole department's getting a market adjustment, and then they also get steps. Is that also true? That of around 2%?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so in aggregate,
I think
it's,
it's in the,
if I add those together,
Nancy
6.5%.
has
Is
it.
that a fair way to think about it?
Yes. For fiscal year 2025. Yes.
Nancy, give it to
Okay.
it's
Did
not
your question get
crystal
answered?
clear.
Sorry?
Did your question get answered, Carrie?
It did, and then can we talk about the reopener on fire? Is that different than the reopener?
It's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Well, so there's language in here that says the goal is to have
Multi-year.
a multi-year successor contract in place by May 2025. So when we think about this, it's a 2-year contract, but it sounds like the intent as expressed is to, subject to obviously agreement, to have it be effectively a 1-year contract succeeded by a new agreement. Is that a fair way to think about it?
I mean, I think that's a fair
I
way to
think
think
so.
about it. I think
Yeah.
neither Katie or I were actually involved in the final conversations, but that is my understanding, particularly with the language around the COLA. It's, again, by not entering into the 3-year contract, they are not, they don't qualify for the COLA corridor.
Right.
And
No.
that has sort of almost a
getting to the
default
place.
clause that if the town and the union don't reach agreement by, I believe the date in there is March of 2025, that it would default to the same agreement with a 2% COLA.
So yeah, just so in the event agreement on a new contract is not reached by March 15, 2025, the parties agree that Appendix D will be adjusted by a COLA of 2% for fiscal year 26. And
Appendix D is their salary rates. So their salary schedules, like we do every year, would just be updated.
I see. Okay.
And that was in the memos, right?
Yeah.
The 2.5 this year and 2% next year if we don't get it in agreement.
Correct.
Thank you.
So now we're reviewing the contracts. Thank you, Katie, very much.
Do you want to see the police? The fire I could digest. The
Fire was
police.
quick. No.
Can I just ask why we didn't get these sooner? I understand that they were agreed in succession, and so why weren't we given these in succession or sometime other than 14 minutes ago? I'm baffled.
Let's not kill the messenger.
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
Our town manager is in Concord during
Yeah, I'm
our
not-
final budget hearing.
Yeah, I'm unsure why it wasn't provided to you.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
I
I'm
told
not
him that.
angry.
No, it's okay,
I'm
but
not
we-
angry at you, Katie, I'm simply astonished.
No, I understand.
My understanding from prior conversations, and again, I haven't gone through the 84 pages of contracts, but with respect to the reopener terms around the COLA corridor, is that something that still in there? I know it was discussed. I think, was it above 6% on the CPI, there would be a reopener, and I think it was above 8% on the flip side, 8% on the healthcare premium cost, there would be a reopener on the part of management. I mean, not to put it on, be a reopener, the option to reopen.
I know that's what the COLA quarter was. I'm sure. I don't remember what the help.
I'll double check on that.
Yeah, and maybe you could just also just I know there was 0 to 4 in the corridor and 1 to 4. Maybe you could just again.
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
It's 1 to 4.
Yes.
That applies for the 2 contracts, obviously not the fire. So that's the same. And then the reopener language is with respect to the CPI corridor and the healthcare you're looking up. Okay.
I agree. I believe that the reopener on the COLA is. Just 1 second. So the cost of living, again, the corridor is 1 to 4%. In the event that the CPI index is over 6% in a given year, that would trigger a reopener.
Okay, and then on the healthcare, I know you're looking.
Here's the police, if you can hand that down.
Thank you.
Jenny, did you want the fire?
Yeah, just a minute.
Kate, so the health and wellness activities are also going to be decided later.
As far part of the MAPS system.
Yes,
Yes.
is that
Yeah,
accurate?
there's a lot of details that still need to be ironed out with the MAPS.
Okay, what in addition, or is it too many to summarize?
Just details about what activities for each of the categories.
Right, but I mean, the overall category of health and wellness, and then are there any other overall categories that are going to be part of it?
Yeah, their performance review,
Okay,
Years of service.
years of service.
There was one other thing, right?
Yeah.
It's in that contract that you're looking at right now, I think.
this is DPW.
Yeah, I think it's in there, on page 8.
Service performance review, professional development.
Professional development, there it is. And then we had proposed an increase in each department's budget line for professional development to help with that portion of the map system.
And the dollars for each one of these are held in general in the department. For instance, the professional development dollars are held in general in the department and then allocated according to the
Supervisor.
supervisor.
Yes.
Okay. And all employees are eligible for asking for these dollars.
Correct, yep, it would just be determined.
Regardless of where on the seniority scale here.
Yeah, it would just be determined by their supervisor.
Understand.
The reopener on the health is, at least in the police contract, is 10%, and a requirement that the town notify the union within 10 days of receipt of the guidance on the healthcare insurance costs, and then that could potentially trigger a reopener.
Okay, and can you tell me what page on the police contract, the reopener language?
39.
39, okay, thank you. 39. So the document I have goes through 34.
It just might be in a different format.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's very small font, so it's
Or maybe
probably.
you can give me the
Article number,
article number, yeah.
17.
17, okay, thank you.
Oh, I was looking at the Roman numerals.
Oh, yeah, we're reading the Roman numerals.
Put 17 in Roman numerals?
Well, it's also 17.1,
Okay, got it, thank you, okay.
but it's actually, there it is.
That's under employee health insurance.
Yes.
And the reopener on the compensate, the CPI reopener.
I'll have to go up and find that.
I tell people that my Wi-Fi is not working.
It's crazy. Just give me a second. And then the reopener on the CPI again is 6%, but let me tell you where it is.
And Kate, obviously the critical shortage pay kicks in when departments are understaffed, have problems. And so that for an individual could change over the year if there is hiring that takes place.
Yes.
And then the supervisor says, thank you very much, wastewater technician. We have staffed that, and so your salary is now going to be X minus.
Correct, yep. So when they implement the critical staffing, it's $125 per person. So they would just reduce the
per
week.
Okay,
And then, so once they are no longer in critical staffing,
right.
then they would just, we would just remove the stipend.
Oh, it's for the entire department, for instance, if I'm using wastewater. as an
Well, it'd be per
Employee.
division,
Okay,
so not per department, per division affected by the shortage.
okay, thank you.
And we do classify it as a separate payroll code, so it doesn't get commingled with the base hourly rate.
Nugget stays as it is, implemented when need be. And is that 125 without regard to department?
Yes.
I mean, will it be the same police, fire, and DPW?
Yep, it's a consistent amount.
Thank you.
And Carrie, you got what you were looking for, it's
It's
15.1.
15.1, yes, yeah, got it, thank you. And this document, this summary document is very helpful, but I think the reopener language is important. So it was not in this, but. Police contract, you know?
So the fire voted, they adopted their contract yesterday.
They did.
Okay. Just making sure, because that was an unknown on
The
Monday.
contract that we're seeing.
Correct.
It has been adopted by.
It's been ratified by everyone, the fire department.
Yeah, it was voted 10-4. Approved 10-4.
And Article 5.13 on the fire contract, the vacation sellback, this was an exception to on most issues, our existing contract, that is actually a change to the existing contract, is that correct?
The vacation sellback.
Yeah,
In fire.
in fire. I mean,
They had the ability to sell back 20 hours this current year as well.
Okay, oh, it's just, that it's changing it from anniversary date to a time chosen by the town.
Correct.
Okay, got it, okay.
And I believe you can comment, Katie, it also was changed from a pilot to a benefit.
Yes, yeah,
To
the town,
an ongoing
right.
in the contract.
In the contract.
So, yeah, okay. Speed read.
Was there a unanimous ratification of the DPW and the police? Do you know what the votes were?
Do you remember what the votes were, Richard, for DPW, Parks and Rec?
Yeah, pretty good idea.
I'm not sure it's that relevant, but I'm interested to know.
DPW, I believe the vote was 19-4 and 4 against.
Okay, thank
And
you.
then it was for doing the 2% versus the 75 cents, I think that was 21-4 and 1 abstain and 2 against.
Okay.
And that's the way our wages break out.
Yep.
Pretty much also.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's helpful, thank you. Sounds like there's not a consensus, but an overwhelming majority.
Can I ask a question with respect to the HSA contributions for the police and DPW? So moving to a high deductible plan, and so there is savings from that, I think, right? And then the funding of the HSA, how do those two numbers compare, the HSA funding increments versus the premium savings on the high deductible? Any sense of how that sort of pans out?
Yeah, I think Ellen has.
It's a good question, Karen.
And so
I'm sure it's going to be favorable, but it's a good question.
I do just want to clarify one thing though. We currently have a high deductible plan, and we're adding another. So the town currently offers one as well. We're just adding another high deductible option.
Does the current plan have an HSA? I don't remember.
We don't contribute to an HSA currently.
Okay, so that's the big change. Okay.
So would you be contributing for both of the high deductible plans?
Yes.
So at the highest level for family plan, the difference between the Access Blue and the highest deductible, the new plan, is for the annual premium total, $18,000. And it varies, of course, individual, 2-person and family.
Sorry, the 18,000 represents the HSA,
Access Blue?
cost of the HSA, or is it the premium?
That's the premium, that's the difference in the premium
Premium
between the two.
difference, so that's a savings. Yep, okay. And then the HSA contribution is maybe census dependent, so we don't really know, or
It's between 1,500 and 4,500, depending on
depending on election. plan.
Right, and with the other, and with the high deductible plan that we currently offer, which a lot of employees participate in, the HSA contribution is less, well, the same percentage, but the premium, the deductible is smaller in our current plan. It's $2,500 and $5,000, regardless whether you're in a 2-person plan or a family. So the HSA contribution would be $1,250 or $5,000.
Okay, got it.
I will say, though, our predominantly our employees elect Access Blue. We actually currently have 14 employees on the Luminos, which is a high deductible, and then on for Access Blue, I want to make sure I'm using the right numbers.
124.
We have a lot. Sorry, I'm just making sure that I have a lot of different
Yeah,
files.
and overwhelmingly, a majority of our employees go with the no deductible plan.
Right, the Access Blue, it's in combination with the FSA.
How much does it cost to administer the new plan?
What do you mean by
Like, does
administering?
it have additional costs just to add it?
No. The town Health Trust provides the town with 3 choices of plans to offer. So because they're phasing out one of the other plans that we currently offer, we're replacing that plan with the other plan.
Okay, so, and then with the opting out, how much is the 500 per opt-out gonna cost us?
So we currently have 22 individuals who opt out. So that's a total of $11,000.
And no anticipating of anyone new opting out.
That's hard to predict, but
It's hard to predict, and that leads definitely to savings. when
Yes,
an
were
individual
we
opts
to
out.
expect it? Like there's a 0 expected value right now.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear from
Jenny's-
public?
Kari, hello.
So Kari, Chair of the Hanover Finance Committee, and I just want to, I think you all received the email that said that at our meeting on Tuesday evening, we approved the sort of core budget unanimously, and we will be meeting again at the end of the month, and hopefully by then we will all have been able to digest everything that you've just digested, and we expect that we will be taking positions on each of those contracts as well. One of the areas of interest that I'm not sure I have understood quite yet, but our town manager mentioned during the budget presentation that in general and we've been looking at comparison of salaries, that in general at the lower steps we were not terribly competitive, but at the higher steps that we were doing very well. And I wasn't clear from this if there are provisions that particularly address the issues at the lower steps without raising even further the higher steps. I noticed that on the market adjustments that are mentioned on page 2, steps A and B, 75 cents an hour increase, and then that goes down to 25 cents per hour, but I wasn't clear from this how that was meant to be applied, if that's to each step, and then that would mean that the steps no longer have 2% between each one, or what exactly is being described here, and are there any other examples of where we're trying to become more competitive at the lower steps without necessarily increasing a premium, as we used to say on the top steps.
I think the DPW contract, but not the fire and police, as far as I understood. In that bid, it was a 75, the vote of 20, The last
I think that was
vote,
in the,
Rayford went over.
with it being on page 2, I thought that meant that applied to all.
So that update, that applies for non-union staff, and you'll see in the page 2, 3, 4, the market adjustments differ in Public Works and Parks and Rec union employees. It's 35 cents for steps A through J. So those are all different types of market adjustments, so they differ.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Is it, I'm just gonna write the numbers, because you said page such and so, but I don't.
If you look under the Public Works and Hanover Parks and Rec union section of the memo, they have a different market adjustment than the non-union.
Okay, so what I saw on page 2 only applied to
Non-union employees.
And
then fire, their market adjustment is at 2%.
right, so that's again across all steps, regardless of whether we were having problems with competitiveness or not.
In fire,
In
in
fire.
Public Works, it's just the A through J, but everyone also gets 2%. And there's no cap on our
And-
highest paid employees still get 2%.
So I'm a little confused. On Public Works, are they getting 75 cents an hour or 2%? I thought,
Public Works union employees are getting a 75-cent step adjustment per hour.
so that would have some wage compression in it.
Okay, and I'm sorry, for Public Works, I mean, I'm
Oh,
just seeing market
30,
adjustment
35.
steps A through J, and so that's many of the steps, but I just see.
Then two things down, it says merit/steps.
Oh, down there,
Yeah,
yes.
so the merit step increase is completely separate from the market adjustment.
Right, and I was, because of the non-public looking at the market.
And then you'll see that there were 2 positions that are receiving an extra 25 cents per hour increase.
So I guess I don't want to hold you up, and because I'm not voting today, but I would just say that this is an area that if we could have some clarity, I believe that we're meeting is at like April 28th, so we have a couple of weeks. But I think that there is very much an interest, on all of these provisions, but in particular, the Finance Committee has often looked at the ability to attract and retain. And we have looked at then the salary comparison, so that would be an important component for us to look at.
Yeah, so specific questions, Kari?
Well, just again, okay, yes. But that was just the general, like right now I'm telling you, I know for certain that's going to be a general question for all of the contracts. And yes.
And on the memo to specify which are union situations and which are non-union. I mean, that is.
Yeah, so a little bit of
Not spelled out.
repackaging
Yeah.
is,
That is not spelled out.
Well, the
right.
first section would apply to non-union, and then the union sections are labeled as such.
Okay.
Police, Public Works and Hanover Parks and Rec, and then fire. So all things that are underneath those apply to each of those union contracts. And then the first section is for the non-union employees.
And the costs associated with the non-union employees would have been considered as part of that base budget that you all approved on Monday. And
Correct, and there's language in there that states that. Here are the key items that have been included in the budget.
yeah, and again, I actually I wasn't able to read along with you when you were saying this before, so I was just listening to the high points. But thank you for clarifying that now, so I'll make sure that as other people read it, they understand that. I don't know, Carrie, can you think, I mean, you sat in on a lot of these discussions, other just big areas the bans, I think that some of the questions that you asked, as you get clarification on those, and you may have that already in the contracts, which we haven't seen, but.
No, we don't have clarity on bands and segments, and I think that's something that we'll discuss, I think, also at the select board in terms of what the maps thing ultimately ends up being, right? I think that's something that we committed to doing. with, the unions, but I mean, we also have to make sure that it makes financial sense for the taxpayer, so.
All right. And I guess I thought that I heard something like, well, like what would trigger a reopener on the insurance if it got to 10% and all of that? Just, if we could have, as some of the questions that you asked are answered, if we could also have those.
Did they want to talk or they had a call? Oh, sorry.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Rob they were following along at the station, and Rob just came in case you had questions regarding the
That's nice of
fire
them.
contract.
Yeah.
Tell them thank you.
I will.
Okay. So anyway, as you get answers to your questions,
Share them.
yes, yes,
Why not?
why not? All right, thank you.
So, Master Chair,
Yes,
it
okay.
feels like, I mean,
I-
we have to, before April 9th, we have to approve these union, on behalf of the town, the union negotiation, the
Right,
union
which is
contracts, which is today.
Basically today. So, and we need to, why don't we get them, we need to move them separately, don't we? Yes, we do. So, is there more general discussion? Because we should get we need to get a motion on the table. Okay, let's get a motion on the table to look at the first one in our list, which would, good night. Is that correct?
Afternoon,
I'm used to saying good night. Go to
I have to
sleep.
get to an interview at 1.
Monday night.
Yeah, I believe the police is the first one that we have on our list. So is there a motion to do something with this?
But yeah, I'll move that we approve the union contract with the police, AFSCME Local 3657, as partially presented to us in contract form.
Seriously. And we have a second. Okay, any further discussion on this? Hearing none, let's call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm just gonna abstain, just because I'm
Yep.
a really slow reader, I don't
That's
think
fine.
we
Yep,
have
that's
time.
fine. I
So,
totally,
could somebody write down it's
It's just
4
super
for, 0
weird to,
against,
like-
1 abstain?
I mean, if we can retake it at the end or something, but I have a hard time.
totally fair.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, let's, next item on our agenda is the public. Go ahead.
I move that we adopt the Public Works and Hanover Parks and Recreation contract, AFSCME Local 1348, as negotiated and presented to us today.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstain?
She voted aye.
I didn't hear you.
I voted aye.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
I raised my hand as well.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
For the audience.
And the record keeper.
And lastly, on our agenda item is fire IAFF Local 3288 contract.
I will make a motion to approve the Town of Hanover Select Board and Professional Firefighters of Hanover Local 3288 IAFF contract dated March 28th, 2024, as presented.
Is there a second?
So second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. So,
Jenny, did you vote that time? I'm sorry.
She
Okay.
did.
Okay, that one was
So-
short.
I would really like the record to note that in the future, that having copies of the contract is imperative, that our town manager needs to be here at this important tenure, and that we need to do this before 4 days before. We can't do this again, ever, because 4 days before the contract can happen, unacceptable. And so that's on all of us to make sure it doesn't happen again, and that, this is it's really important that we're not in the 11th hour making these really important decisions for our community members. So I just.
Joanna, we did meet in non-public on Monday and scheduled this meeting. And Alex did inform us he wouldn't be able to make it, but we thought it was okay to meet without him.
I'm just, in hindsight,
Yeah.
I also,
So
I
don't wanna do it
expected to
again.
see the contracts, I just don't want this to happen again
Okay.
for a future board.
Okay.
For this community, this is, we've done this before, it's, 70 to 75% of our budget is our employees. Our employees are our most important asset,
Yep.
and we owe them the respect to have these contracts negotiated well in advance of the deadline, which is April 9th, and we're on April 5th. And so I just want it clear in the record, and for all of us, to make sure that we're not doing this ever again, if possible.
Thank you.
Also, two of the contracts were negotiated earlier, and one of them came in at the last minute. And we agreed to delay our meeting.
Oh, no, it's,
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's, but I think that, again, it's been a long, hard journey for
yes, it
everyone,
has been.
and we are
Yep.
normally voting on our budget in February, and it is now April.
Yep.
Just shy of 4 weeks in advance of our public town meeting, and we can't do that again.
Not to elongate the meeting too much, but let me just also add, for the record, I know it's standard business practice in Washington for congressional delegations to vote on 3,000 pages of legislation that they have yet to take a look at, but I think here, if we have 85 pages of contract language, some of which has been finalized for many weeks, that should be circulated to the select board for consideration, so we can read it in with
Confidence vote on it.
confidence and go through and really think about our questions as opposed to under the gun. So I guess I'm amplifying, but also thank you, Katie and Ellen, for all of the tremendous amount of work. I know that we're changing about 10 things at the same time, so that is not easy. And you guys were troopers in all of this. And also thank you to those on the other side of the table. You went through a hard and
They did
arduous,
a lot too.
yes, arduous
Right.
process. So thank you for all the time that you put into this process. You and your
And your
fellow-
colleagues.
and your colleagues. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a budget, and we have contracts.
Total budget.
approved.
I'd love to see a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Contracts.